Hey everyone, welcome to a new video where I'll be giving you a complete guide to the Immersive Engineering mod explaining all its elements. So sit back and enjoy this awesome video. We'll add the Immersive Engineering mod to Minecraft. First, click the link in the description and go to the Files section. In Files, go to Mod Loader. I'll choose Forge for version 1, 19.2. Note that this mod is designed for NeoForge. It's available for newer versions like 2.0.4, but Forge's latest is 1. 19.2. Anyway, click the 3 buttons for your chosen version, okay? Click Get File and save it in the mods folder. To find it, search %appdata%, go to Minecraft and locate the mods folder. If it's not there, create one and save the mod there. That's it, mod installed. How do we get aluminum? Alright, let's head to the layer. From layer 32 to 112, right there we should find raw bauxite. It's this mineral here. These ores give us raw bauxite, which we can smelt to get aluminum. So yeah, that's how we obtain this element. How can we obtain silver? First, we need to know it's found in the 48A32 layer across all biomes. Initially, we'll find it as ore. We'll need to mine it to get the raw form. To use this raw form, we simply need to smelt it. Use a furnace to get ingots, or try a crusher or arc furnace. How do you find lead ingots? First, know that it's found between layers 32 and 80. What we have here is lead ore, which we'll find in these layers. When we break it, we'll get raw lead. To use raw lead, we can smelt it into ingots or crush it, whichever we prefer. Uranium can be found between layers -64 and -16 in any biome. To show you what it looks like, gold ore appears like this. When we mine it, we'll get raw uranium, which we can then smelt. This process yields uranium ingots. How to get nickel? It appears in layers between -64 and 24, and nickel looks like this gold here, with a very light green color. We break it to get raw nickel, which we can smelt or process through a crusher to obtain the ingots. How do you get hemp or industrial seeds? They're basically obtained by breaking tall grass. You can break grass, but ideally you should break the tall ones. So here it is, and that's basically it. We need to keep breaking this grass. There's a small chance it'll drop hemp, just like it drops wheat. Of course, we can also get this item another way, by growing and replanting it. How do you get hemp fiber? To obtain this, we need hemp seeds, a hoe, and to cultivate. As the plant grows, we'll gather bone meal. By the way, you get hemp seeds by breaking tall grass. Once fully grown, it looks like this. You can harvest now or let it grow more. When we break it, you'll see it drops the fiber. Note, they grow slowly, so plant lots. You'll use hemp often in this mod. How do we obtain coking coal? Coking coal is primarily used for smelting. It's used in furnaces like blast furnaces to convert iron into steel, for example. So how can we get this coal? Well, basically we need to craft this oven here. It's called a coke oven. How do we make it? It's made using coke bricks. Coke bricks have a unique recipe. Any sandstone block, 4 bricks, and 4 clay balls. It says you'll get 3 bricks. We'll need 27 because we'll make a 3x3x3 cube. We'll keep repeating this pattern until we have a 3x3 cube. Then we'll take the engineer's hammer and right click on top of the 3x3 structure. This opens a slot where we put coal, which slowly melts into coke. These recipes show wood can become charcoal and produce creosote oil, which is another element we'll look at later. How to get any plate? Well, that's what the engineer's hammer is for. It allows us to use any ingot in the game. Basically, we'll switch to survival mode. We grab the hammer, place it with the ingot on a crafting table. There we'll get the plate, using up the hammer a bit, but if we don't want to do that, we can take the same ingot. There's this tool called a metal press, where you place the object. This press, well, presses it, as the name suggests. And there you have it. The plate is made to make plates. Add a mold. I've used the plate mold, I've put it there, see? How do you get the engineer's handbook? This handbook is super important. It explains most of what's in the mod. We can open it with a right click. It has a search bar, info on resources, furnaces, building, power, wiring, generators, and both simple and heavy machinery. There's also a search function. If I want to find oven, I can search for it specifically. How do you craft this item here? It's made with a book and a lever. The lever needs any stick and cobblestone, so it's an easy craft, and the book is huge. How do you get the engineer's hammer? This is a crucial tool, as you can see. It's used to make various furnaces, and it's essential for building any multi-block structure. like that furnace over there. It also allows us to rotate any object related to the mod. See, I'm rotating this object here. We can craft any type of plate using this tool. So how do you make it? You need 2 sticks, 2 iron ingots, and some string. How to build a coke oven. The coke oven is made with coke bricks. Coke bricks are crafted using 4 bricks and 4 nails. Basically, we make a 3x, 3x, 3 block. That's 3 wide, 3 long, and 3 high. Once we're done, we'll take our engineer's hammer, right click, and voila, we'll have our coke oven. How do you get creosote oil? It's this cube right here. Let's check the engineer's manual to learn how to use it. We'll find coke oven, craft coke bricks, and build a coke oven. How do you make a coke oven? Here's an illustration of the crafting process. This button shows the final shape. Pressing it again continues crafting. This stops and resumes the process. When stopped, we can view layers. Let's start with the first layer. There it is. Second and third layers. As you see, all layers are identical. Once we've built this oven, we can smelt birch, wood, logs, coal blocks, and coal. Each item produces a certain amount of creosote. 500 MB here, 5000 there, and 250 here. Each item takes time to melt. I suggest having multiple ovens of this type. They take quite a while. Once full, blue is for input, orange for output. That's input and output. Put the bucket in to collect the creosote. How can we get treated wood for future crafting? Treated wood is this item here, made with any type of wood and creosote. To get creosote, we need to build a coke oven. We use our engineer's book, made with a book and lever, to find the coke oven recipe. We see the coke brick recipe, 4 bricks, 4 clay balls, and sandstone in the center. We craft the coke oven, which is a 3x3x3 structure. Right click with the engineer's hammer, and it'll produce creosote when smelting certain items. To collect it, we'll use our bucket. Once we've collected our creosote, we'll place our bucket here. When an item melts, like this one, creosote will come out, which we can use to craft treated wood. How do you build a crude blast furnace? Well, for this we'll need blast bricks. I recommend checking the engineer's manual and looking up crude blast furnace. It shows we need 4 bricks, 4 nether bricks, and a magma block. Basically, we need to make a 3x3 structure. So we build a 3x3 without any issues. Once that's done, we take our engineer's hammer, right click, and there we have the furnace. How does this furnace work? It has an input slot for iron and a fuel slot. This furnace only works with one fuel type, coke. You can get coke from the coke oven. Look it up if you're unsure. The coke oven will appear there. Alright, we can smelt iron ore or iron blocks. The purpose of this is to obtain steel or slag, which we'll use for future crafting recipes. How do we get to 0? For this, we'll need iron and a raw blast furnace. It's made with 27 blast blocks. You know the crafting recipe. We'll build a 3x3x3 cube. Once we've done that, we'll use our engineer's hammer. Right click it, and here we'll need to put in the iron, okay? Not regular iron or iron blocks. This way we'll get both steel and slag. How do you get steel? Well, for this, we'll need iron and a blast furnace, which is made with 27 blast brick blocks. You know the crafting recipe. We'll build a 3x3 structure, 3 blocks high. Once that's done, we'll use our engineer's hammer. Right click it, and here we'll put in the iron, either iron ingots or blocks. This way we'll get both steel and slag. The multimeter tool is crafted using a compass, copper ingot, and 2 sticks. This engineer's multimeter essentially measures the power a charger receives. Got it? For instance, this is a dynamo. As you can see, it's not experiencing any energy emergency at the moment. It's a single wheel system, yet the dynamo is outputting an energy level of 256. Over here we have a stored energy of 100,000 out of 100,000. So, the multimeter helps us check if energy is flowing properly and other similar things. How does the wire cutter work and what's it for? Basically, it's used similarly to how we'd use an engineer's hammer to turn a plate into strips, just as the hammer turns an ingot into a plate, allowing us to craft various types of cables. As you can see here, we have all the crafting options it offers, and that's pretty much what I've explained. So yeah, that's the basic function of this tool. We can get any type of cable. Obviously, each cable has its own crafting recipe, and it's interesting to note that among the various cables, there are LV, low voltage, MV, medium voltage, and HV, high voltage. It's important to highlight each of these voltage types. We also have redstone cable, insulated low voltage cable, which prevents electrocution, and insulated medium voltage cable. If we touch these 2 insulated cables, we won't get electrocuted, even when current is flowing through them. Each cable has its own crafting recipe. For example, Low voltage cable is made with 4 cable lines and a stick. How do we get the cable lines? They're made with wire cutters, crafted from an iron ingot and 2 sticks. Additionally, we'd need a plate, which means using plate cutters to get the wire. But to make the plate, we need a copper ingot, a hammer, combine them, and we have the plate. So that's a brief overview of the process. How can we make a cable safe to touch? It's a valid concern. If we touch it like I'm doing now, it should shock us. Why doesn't this one shock? Well, it's an insulated cable. I have an insulated LV here, and there's MV too, low and medium voltage. So how is this done? We use regular cables to craft a wire or cable with 4 copper wires and toth fabric. Toth fabric is made from industrial hemp fiber grown from hemp seeds. We get hemp seeds by breaking grass. We craft this, then another, with electrum threads. This gives us cables that are safe to touch. How does a transformer work? Well, there are 2 types, okay? A normal transformer and a high voltage transformer. Basically, the way they work is they have an input and an output. The transformer, that first one, allows us to, as we can see, have different connectors up here. These connectors actually have that height, alright? This would be the low voltage connector, then medium voltage and high voltage. So as you can see, here we have the list of voltages, okay? Low voltage lets in 256 and outputs 2048, 1024 and so on. So there you have it. Obviously each voltage will be used when needed. Also, if we use the wrong voltage, the cable could burn out. Got it? Keep that in mind. Here we have a medium to low voltage and a high to medium voltage, okay? With the next transformer. These would be the crafting recipes, alright? As I mentioned before. The electrum coil lock is made with electrum. Electronic components are made in an engineer's workbench with these blueprints, okay? Basically review crafting with JMod, but that's how transformers work. How do cable connectors work? These are the elements here. The low voltage, medium voltage, and high voltage cable connectors. The low voltage one handles input from 256 to 2048 power output. The medium voltage handles input from 1024 to 8192 output. The high voltage allows input from 4096 to 32768 power output. So what's the purpose of this? Well, depending on our machine's advancement and energy output, we'll need high or low voltage. We need to check our machine's output with a multimeter and run some tests. Usually low voltage works at the game's start, so craft lots of low voltage connectors early on. You can progress to higher voltages later. Remember, if the voltage is wrong, the cable will burn out, okay? So you'll definitely notice if that happens. How does a cable relay work? What's the difference from a connector? Relays work like connectors, with low, medium, and high voltage options. So what sets them apart from connectors? Connectors directly receive energy from a source, like a dynamo. Here's where the dynamo would be. It sends power straight to a load or battery, but we can't make 2 connections between 2 wires. If I connect this to that, I can't link it to another. It's already taken. For multiple connections like this, we'd need to use a relay. In this case, there's only one signal path. The signal comes here, this part receives it, and sends it there. It's pretty straightforward here. But if it went to 3 instead of 1, the power would split equally. Remember, each has its own voltage. This is low, this is medium, and this is high voltage. If you mess up the voltage, you'll fry the wires. Keep that in mind. How does an energy accumulator work? It's this element right here. If we look it up, we'll see a low volume accumulator, a medium volume accumulator, a high volume accumulator, and finally this creative accumulator. The creative accumulator is basically an energy storage that's always charged in creative mode, allowing us to skip the whole electrical process when testing if a machine works or not. What's the difference between these elements? Simple. Low voltage stores 100,000, medium voltage stores 1 million flux, and high voltage stores up to 4 million. Each one has its own crafting recipe, of course. Got it? So now let's take a look at it with the J. Alright, important things to note. When we place it, it'll have this blue part, which would be the input. If I take a cube and point it aside, it's an energy input. Right-clicking changes it to output. Now it's orange. Output means energy output. For no connection, we set it to input. We select this face. Do we want another input? Let's add another input. Looking at this face, another input, another input. Should we have an output here? All right, an output. Here's an output. That's how this tool works. Inputs charge the generator. Outputs provide power elsewhere. Remember, to link points, we'll need actual connectors. Cables, connectors to join everything together. How does a water wheel work? It's this element here. If I press R, we'll see the water wheel, which is made with treated wood, any type, and 4 sticks plus a steel ingot. To get this element working and make use of it, we definitely need a kinetic dynamo. It's this item here. Press J to see how it's crafted. Place the dynamo and you'll see a hole. You need to put the wheel in that hole. It's crucial to do this. Once that's done, remember, the more water on the wheel, the faster it spins. I'll remove this water that was speeding it up. See how it slows down? Now it's only using river water. So I've made a kind of circuit here. You can copy this formula if you want. It's basically going up from where the water is at ground level, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1 left, 1 up, and 3 left. From here you place the water. As you can see, this wheel spins faster and generates more energy this way. As you can also see, the wheel's at 3. If I break this now, you'll see there were some hours here and it's at 3. Adding more won't help. The maximum you can use is 3. So that's how this wheel works. How does a water wheel work? It's this element here. If I press R, we'll see the water wheel, which is made with treated wood any type and 4 sticks plus a steel ingot. To get this element working and make use of it, we definitely need a kinetic dynamo. It's this item here. Press J to see how it's crafted. Place the dynamo and you'll see a hole. You need to put the wheel in that hole. It's crucial to do this. Once that's done, remember, the more water on the wheel, the faster it spins. I'll remove this water that was speeding it up. See how it slows down? Now it's only using river water, so I've made a kind of circuit here. You can copy the formula if you want. It's basically going up from where the water is at ground level, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1 left, 1 up, and 3 left. From here you place the water. As you can see, this wheel spins faster and generates more energy this way. As you can also see, the wheel is at 3. If I break this now, you'll see there were some hours here, and it's at 3. If you add more, it won't help. The maximum you can use is 3. So that's how this wheel works. Here's how a kinetic dynamo works. This component is crafted with an iron mechanical part made from high or low voltage wires and a copper coil block. The crafting process is similar for these components. To use the kinetic dynamo, place it down. The hammer only lets you rotate it, nothing else. Its operation is quite simple. Let's place it here. It has an input where energy enters. So we'll connect our energy source here. This could be a water mill or windmill for kinetic energy. Now, where does the energy output? The energy exits through these points here, these orange output points. We can connect cables directly to these and extract energy. If we use 3 points, the energy splits 3 ways. If we use 1 point, all energy flows through 1 cable. So that's how the dynamo works. It detects the mill's movement energy and converts it into electricity. How do we transfer energy from 1 point to another? This might be a bit confusing for some of you. To do this, we absolutely need a connector. We can use a relay if we want, okay? But mainly we'll need connectors. Let's say we want to move energy from this full LV accumulator with 100,000 energy to this other tank here, alright? This other tank. So let's grab our hammer, aim, and it shows where you're pointing. Output, meaning energy would flow out from here. If I click again, and it says no connection, another click would make it input, for energy input. So we'll set this one to energy output. Here we'll set it to energy input. And what we'll use are connectors. We'll link them with a cable. This way, energy will start flowing to here. Why is it transferring 4,000 at a time? That's the max power of the low voltage connector and cable. In low voltage, the maximum you can transmit is 4,000. 2048, there we have it. Medium voltage is 8,000 and high voltage is 32768. So how do we measure energy in an interface? Well, we use the engineer's multimeter. It's pretty simple. You craft it like this. Compass, copper ingot, 2 sticks. Just point it at what you want to measure, like this storage unit here, and there you have it. What happens if a cable isn't compatible with our connectors? Say we're using a low volume connector but switch to a high volume cable. Well, if the voltages aren't right, especially if they're too low, the cables will burn. On the flip side, if I put a high voltage cable in low voltage connectors, probably nothing. Well, let's try it. Let's take out the cable. As you can see, it won't even let me plug it in. Even if it did let us plug it in, we see it still doesn't fit. But if we put a low voltage cable in a high voltage connector, we'll lose the cable if too much power flows through it. Now, let's talk about removing cables. I've shown you how to add and connect cables, but not how to remove them, right? So, let's say we have a cable connected here. To remove it, we'd use the wire tool, okay? We'd right click with the wire cutter and cut the cable. It'll go into our inventory, got it? So we won't lose it when it's removed. Simple as that. How does a windmill work? It's called a windmill, and it needs windmill sails. They're optional, but almost mandatory. A windmill needs 8 blades and an iron ingot. Blades are made of treated wood, 4 sticks and 4 planks. The sail uses top fabric made from industrial hemp fiber, basically hemp. So what are windmills used for? Windmills help us be more efficient. How many will we need? I want us to need 8 of them. So basically we'll have this wheel here, okay? To work right, put it 10 blocks up on flat ground, got it? If we're placing several, keep at least 10 blocks between them to prevent interference. Are seen as too close, so they move slower. In storms, they go much faster. If I add a windmill sail, you'll see it speed up, okay? If I put it here, you'll see it start spinning faster. Now it spins with the sail, and this is how it spins without them. I think there's a clear difference, right? There it is. The sail makes it spin and generate power faster. How do we generate energy? With a kinetic dynamo facing the mill, then connectors to charge a storage unit. How does a windmill work? It's called a windmill and it needs sails. They're optional but almost mandatory. A windmill needs 8 blades and an iron ingot. Blades use treated wood, 4 sticks and 4 planks. The sail uses top fabric made from industrial hemp fiber. So what are windmills for? Windmills increase efficiency. How many do we need? I want us to need 8 of them. So we'll have this wheel here, okay? To work right, put it 10 blocks up on flat ground. Got it? If using multiple, keep 10 blocks between them to avoid interference. Are seen as too close, so they move slower. In storms, they go much faster. If I add a windmill sail, you'll see it speed up, okay? If I put it here, you'll see it start spinning faster. Now it spins with the sail, and this is how it spins without them. I think there's a clear difference, right? There it is. The sail makes it spin and generate power faster. How do we generate energy? With a kinetic dynamo facing the mill, then connectors to charge a storage unit. How does a thermoelectric generator work? Well, it's this element here, a thermoelectric generator. It's made with 5 constant plates, a copper coil ingot, and 3 silver ingots. Basically, it's a block without much complexity. The only thing you can do is, well, you can't even interact with it. It has one output on top, which is where it emits the generated energy. So this energy is basically generated based on the temperature difference between 2 blocks. If we check our manual and search for thermoelectric generator, we'll see a grid showing different elements and how each works. As you can see, blue ice is the coldest and uranium is the hottest with 2000 power. So what we do is put blue ice here and a uranium block on the right side, and maybe do the same thing, blue ice block here and uranium block. This way we'd get it to generate a ton of energy. Something to note, if we want to increase our energy generation, power output, I've seen tutorials, and I'm kind of basing this on what I feel like doing, but I've seen tutorials recommending storing thermogenerators like I'm doing now. Basically, stacking thermogenerators to generate much more energy. To be honest, I don't see a big difference. I'll mention the tip since I've seen it, but I don't know, I don't see the difference. It might not work in this version. As you can see, there's no input below. I'm not sure if it can be opened. No input can be opened. Maybe there was an input below before, so you could highlight them, but now they've nerfed it. That's probably what happened. Well, I think it's fine, because a single thermogenerator already produces a ton. I can't imagine this column here, for example. Anyway, you can always take the thermogenerator and place it here to save blocks. Put an ice block and a uranium block here. Add 2 more here, so you only need to place uranium blocks. This way you save on blocks. That's another way to look at it. How does a thermoelectric generator work? Well, it's this element here, a thermoelectric generator. It's made with 5 constant plates, a copper coil ingot, and 3 silver ingots. Basically, it's a block without much complexity. The only thing you can do is, well, you can't even interact with it. It has one output on top, which is where it emits the generated energy. So this energy is basically generated based on the temperature difference between 2 blocks. If we check our manual and search for thermoelectric generator, we'll see a grid showing different elements and how each works. As you can see, blue ice is the coldest and uranium is the hottest with 2000 power. So what we do is put blue ice here and a uranium block on the right side, and maybe do the same thing, blue ice block here and uranium block. This way we'd get it to generate a ton of energy. Something to note, if we want to increase our energy generation of power. I've seen tutorials, and I'm kind of basing this on what I feel like doing, but I've seen tutorials recommending storing thermogenerators like I'm doing now. Basically, stacking thermogenerators to generate much more energy. To be honest, I don't see a big difference. I'll mention the tip since I've seen it, but I don't know, I don't see the difference. It might not work in this version. As you can see, there's no input below. I'm not sure if it can be opened. No input can be opened. And maybe there was an input below before so you could highlight them, but now they've nerfed it. That's probably what happened. Well, I think it's fine because a single thermo generator already produces a ton. I can't imagine this column here, for example. Anyway, you can always take the thermo generator and place it here to save blocks. Put an ice block and a uranium block here. Add 2 more here. So you only need to place uranium blocks. This way, you save on blocks. That's another way to look at it. We're going to use redstone cables. There's a redstone cable made with 2 redstone, a stick, and aluminum. See? The cable is made of aluminum. So how does it work? It connects with 2 parts, the proof connector and the wire connector. Basically, one sends the signal and the other receives it. Got it? And it emits the signal. For example, this chest has a block inside, so it sends a signal, okay? I'm showing you what's basically the function of a comparator. Understand? If I right-click this part with a screwdriver, sorry, let me clarify, this tool's made with an iron bar and stick. Right-clicking lets me adjust the signal threshold. But what's even more interesting is I can change which signal it is. For example, I'm emitting a white signal and receiving it as white, so this one which receives it as white is able to pick it up. By the way, I have it set to output here, okay? This is basically to be able to emit the signal and have this redstone broadcast. If we set it to input, the signal won't be emitted, got it? So we need to set it to output. Now, if I change the signal that's there to orange, watch what happens. This light will disconnect unless I set the output signal here to orange. See? Now you might ask, okay, great, but why do we need 16 different colors? Well, they're essentially redstone channels. Each channel is a different way to send a signal. This allows us to have wiring without the signals interfering with each other. Got it? For the tech-savvy folks, how does this work? What's this for? I'm not sure. Smart folks will see it has many uses, mainly that we don't need redstone paths. We've got 16 channels, right? With 16 channels, well, it's a huge leap. You can't imagine the redstone needed for 16 channels, you know? You're not really aware of all the redstone we'd need for 16 different channels with various connections just to send one colored signal, right? That exists. But anyway, this mod gives us that directly, which is noteworthy. How do conveyor belts work? Well, conveyor belts are made using the engineer's hammer. And the engineer's hammer allows us to rotate the belts, which, as you can see, transport both us and objects. So here are some important points. Let's look at belts. We'll see that there are various types. As you can see, they're mostly similar, but some have a removable shell. Alright, perfect. Well, it can be removed, I just can't remember how, but it's possible. Each type has its functions. This one, for example, moves objects upward. Oh look, crouching and right-clicking lets you remove this block. Just crouch and right-click. So this tool basically lifts blocks up for you. This one here is going to swallow them. Look, it's the same one here. This hole basically throws items downward when they arrive. Then we have this one which splits items into 2 sides. If 32 items pass, 16 go left and 16 go right. That's the theory, of course. It actually works quite well. Then we have a conveyor belt that can connect to redstone wiring. We have this normal conveyor belt that we can tilt if we want. And this one that's horizontal and vertical. The vertical only one won't work as we can't insert items horizontally, so we'd use this horizontal and vertical one, and then we'd put all vertical ones. That's basically how these elements work. Finally, we have this one here, the extracting converter belt. Basically, you take the stone and this element removes items from the chest. Important to note, if I place a chest on top, it'll directly suck in the items. See? That's where the items are thrown. The chest will suck them in without needing a hopper. It's another feature the mod adds. How does a fluid pump work, you might be wondering? Well, basically a fluid pump has an input and an output. We can change it, but typically the input's at the bottom and the output's at the top. So what's a fluid pump used for? Let's see, this example is too complex. I want to show you a much more illustrative example. It would be this one here. This is a garden that needs water. Here we have the water tank labeled water. What's this element doing here? You can attach a lever to operate it and activate the fluid flow. Remember I mentioned the input at the bottom. Well, it's not visible now, but it takes water from below, which is infinite, and once received, it sends it through this channel, an output with a fluid pipe. In this case, it's something that performs a function. It helps us pump liquids, for instance. Here's more of the same. In this furnace, when you craft, it generates creosote, which is this element here. We've placed this pump here, which collects the creosote and sends it to these tanks. Right now, you can't see how much creosote they contain. You can see it with a bucket. There it is. As you can see, the creosote is distributed among different elements. This shows you a bit how the pump works. Remember, with a hammer, you can set input and output. sending fluid through pipes. How do you get a fluid tank? Well, we'll go to the engineer's book, search for tank, and it should appear there. It's this fluid tank. As you can see, crafting is simple. 34 iron sheets and 4 treated wood fences. Basically, the crafting is just 4 misplaced sticks, an iron sheet block, and a structure above. This can store 512 buckets of any liquid. I think it has to be the same type. It's incredible how much it stores. Here it has 55,453 for reference. I think these barrels might store up to 100,000 or so it's really a very large fluid tank. How can we extract the contents? As you can see, it has different channels, and I assume we can extract the liquid from these channels. By the way, to get the liquid in, we need to connect a fluid pump first, which basically pumps the liquid. Then we use gutters to take it to the top, which is the part that receives the liquid. Now, if we want to send liquid to another machine, like creosote for a specific machine, see this machine here? I can't interact with it, but this one here uses biodiesel, so you could store biodiesel. For example, this machine here produces ethanol. You could use and store ethanol too. This way, you're not relying on the machine to store it, but can use a separate tank and make your own compounds. We can keep a coke oven running even as creosote builds up. For instance, if I melt a coal block, the creosote container fills up, stopping the melting process. So, how can we solve this? Well, there are 2 ways to do it. We can place buckets here and collect them manually. Or we can use a fluid pump, this element here, which we'll place wherever we want. We'll add an activated lever to signal the pump that we want it running. This fluid pump will extract the generated liquid. Then we'll take our hammer, double right click to create an output, like this, and we'll connect these gutters through this output. So we can send these pipes to a barrel, like this metal one, or to a tank. If you look up tank in the guide, you'll see how to craft one that holds 512 cubes of liquid. That's huge. This setup allows us to keep a furnace running non-stop. Now you might ask, if I connect another pipe and fluid pump to another furnace, will it work? Yes, it absolutely does. Doing all this for just one furnace might be overkill since they're pretty slow, but if you have 20 furnaces in a row, this setup makes a lot of sense. By the way, if you break and replace the tank, then craft it again, the fluid is lost. Just a tip if you want to get rid of unwanted fluid, that's one way to do it. How do you get an improved blast furnace? It's this furnace right here, okay? Well, first off, this block simulates a signal. Got it? It's a creative mode block that fakes an electric current out of thin air. Normally, you'd have to work for it. I'm explaining this so you see it needs power to function, alright? This energy is received through different sides, okay? Through these 2 sides here. Then it has outputs. The back one gives you slag and the front one gives you steel. This advanced furnace actually has the same recipes as the regular one. The only difference, it melts faster. So the fuel it uses is the same as the regular furnace, okay? By regular, I mean the less advanced furnace, got it? That's coal, coke, and then charcoal. So how do you make this thing? Well, we grab our engineer's manual, okay? And what we do is search for blast, furnace improved. There it is. Improved blast furnace. As you can see, it explains how to craft reinforced blast bricks, okay? Those are the elements we'll need. It says to craft this, put 9 blast bricks, 9 more, a hopper on top, and right click with the hammer in the center. So you can, well, I'm not sure if there's anything inside. So you can see this is the structure you need. Take the hammer, right click, and there we have it. Important things. Theoretically, this part, the part here at the bottom, should work as it should work as a hopper, okay? In my case, it doesn't work. I should be able to put a chest and it should input. Not sure if I should use a normal hopper. Now, theoretically not, right? Let's see. Okay, if you use a normal hopper, it does work. Theoretically, it's just with the chest, okay? But nothing. So we can autofill this, right? And I assume the coal. I'm not sure if coal goes on the sides, because if it can be placed, one could do the other. No, I see. Ah, okay. You can put coal on the same side. It's pulled up and placed automatically, okay? See that? Now this furnace would run automatically. The preheaters speed things up, as you can see. If all's correct, they'll move when it's running. So how can we get unlimited energy? Obviously, this is in creative mode. In survival, there are ways to get unlimited energy, but you have to wait for it to generate. I'm talking about instant unlimited energy without any mechanism, and it's through the creative accumulator. This item, as its name suggests, is obtained in creative mode and stores infinite energy, allowing us to power any machine indefinitely. Clearly, this isn't meant for survival mode. Don't use it there, as it'll ruin the mod's challenge. The fun of the mod is in brainstorming solutions and creating worthwhile machines. Without that, it loses its appeal. Let's talk about the alloy kiln. How do we get one? Well, basically we're going to do this. Grab the engineer's book, find kiln, and there it is. Alloy Kiln shows how to craft bricks using any sandstone and 2 bricks. We make a 2x2x2 structure, not 4x, my mistake. Then we right click with the engineer's hammer. We have this structure here and we right click. I think we need to click the corner block specifically. And there we have the front face. The recipes let us make insulating glass with any glass and iron grit. We can make constant ingot from copper and nickel, and we can create electrum from gold and silver. So yeah, this kiln is pretty interesting. Let's talk about the alloy kiln. How do we get one? Well, basically we're going to do this. Grab the engineer's book, find kiln, and there it is. Alloy kiln shows how to craft bricks using any sandstone and 2 regular bricks. We'll make a 2x2x2 structure, not 4x, my mistake. Then we right click with the engineer's hammer. We have this structure here and we right click. I think we need to click the corner block specifically, and there we have the front face. The recipes let us make insulating glass with any glass and iron grit. We can make constant ingot from copper and nickel, and we can create electrum from gold and silver. So yeah, this kiln is pretty interesting. Let's talk about the alloy kiln. How do we get one? Well, basically we're going to do this. Grab the engineer's book, find kiln, and there it is. Alloy kiln shows how to craft bricks using any sandstone and 2 regular bricks. We'll make a 2x2x2 structure, not 4x, my mistake. Then we right click with the engineer's hammer. We have this structure here and we right click. I think we need to click the corner block specifically. And there we have the front face. The recipes let us make insulating glass with any glass and iron grit. We can make constant ingot from copper and nickel, and we can create electrum from gold and silver. So yeah, this kiln is pretty interesting. We'll use a metal press called metal press. Let's find it in our book. Here's the metal press and its crafting recipe. The recipe needs an engineered redstone block, a piston, a heavy engineering block, 2 steel scaffoldings, and 2 conveyor belts. Once we've crafted these items, we'll place the piston block in the center and click it with the hammer. As you see, it has different parts. This red part is for the lever to activate or deactivate it. The top connects to power. This is a creative mode power source, but we'll need to build our own power system. Important note, if I take steel and place it here, nothing will happen normally. I'll activate it, but nothing will happen as is. For this press to shape items, it's currently making plates. Why is it making plates? Because if you look, there's a plate-shaped mold underneath. Here's the mold in my hand. Can you see it better now? There are molds for sticks, 3x3S, bullets, cables, and more. Each mold is unique, so keep that in mind. You might have the press, but nothing works. You're confused why? Well, know that it's likely due to this, and that's how this press operates. How does an industrial shredder work? It's this element here called the crasher. I recommend looking up crasher in the engineer's book if you're going to build it. In the crasher section, you'll find all the items needed to craft it. You'll need 10 engineering light blocks, 1 redstone engineering block, 10 steel scaffolding, 8 steel fence, and 9 hoppers. As you can see, this is how the blocks are arranged at different heights. If I now, for example, take, I don't want to break it, but this would be the result. Important, if we fall in while it's running, it'll damage us. So, key points to remember. We have a redstone pulse here to activate the machine. There's an electrical input here that powers the machine and makes it work. And what does a crasher do? Basically, it takes any material like raw iron. Let's see if it works. I'll start the machine. There's not much, but okay. It basically crushes raw iron, for example. I'll throw in a bunch of raw iron, and it transforms it into iron grit. It's like passing it through the hammer. Raw iron in the hammer would give iron grit. The crusher gives more than it should. It practically doubles our materials. Here's some data for you. An ingot gives 1, raw gives 2, 10% nickel chance. I've never gotten nickel from it, but hey, keep robbing me like that. Then we have raw, which gives you 12. For every 9, it gives you 12. Iron grit is useful. Melt it for iron ingots, so it helps us duplicate materials, and that's how the crasher works. Let's get a sawmill and see how it works. This element is called a sawmill. Let's look for sawmill in the book here. Here we have the crafting recipe for all the blocks we need. We need 6 engineering light blocks, 4 iron sheets, 2 heavy engineering blocks, 1 redstone engineering block, 8 steel scaffolds, and 4 conveyor belts. Basically, this would be the first layer. Then we'd have the second, and then the third. Oh, the second is done. Now right click this button with the hammer. This would be the result. Important, the saw blade, which we craft separately with metal and plates, must be placed manually. This saw blade, as you can see, has durability. There's the durability. It'll wear out over time, eventually breaking, and we'll need to replace it. How does the machine work? It has a redstone input to limit its operation. It also has an input for receiving electricity. This simulates a generator sending power directly to the sawmill. How does it work? We have conveyor belts, and I've added an extractor belt to move items from the chest. We need to input logs. I'll use oak logs as an example. The logs will start being sent there. Let's watch them go through. First, logs are cut, then crafted into planks. We also have this output here for sawdust. Sawdust, for those unaware, is only obtained this way. It's used to make fiberboard, which creates a woodblock. It's also used for fuel and making paper. It doesn't seem to have many uses from what I can see, but hey, it's another feature we get. Beyond the obvious auto crafting and so on, what this really does is allow you can activate it instantly. It gives you all the sawmill benefits, letting you turn many items into planks and get more wood. For instance, you get 6 planks from a log instead of 4, which is really great. Basically, you're getting almost 50% more wood. Let's get an assembler. It's called Assembler. We'll find it in our guide. It's crafted like this, as we can see. It needs 2 engineered redstone blocks, 2 light blocks, 9 iron sheet metal, 6 steel scaffolding, 6 iron slabs, and 2 conveyors. Once we're done, we'll right click on that block. I think it's the center one, right? Yeah, it's the center with the engineer's hammer. How does it work? Here's the power input. It receives electricity here, and we need to charge it. This lever lets you turn the machine on or off. As you can see, this machine is called an assembler. This is the input. It's blue, as you can see. And here's the output, where items come out. Here, I've set up an extractor, a conveyor belt, that takes items from the chest and moves them over here. This way, we don't have to manually throw them out. So, over here, what I've done is, well, this is for energy, okay? What I've done here is set it to automatically craft chests for me. So I've put this crafting recipe here, and this would be like a small inventory. This way, it automatically crafts whatever you've set it to make. I've obviously set up a crafting recipe that isn't very useful. There are smarter setups to create an automatic cycle of machines to generate the game's most powerful energy. But I'm just showing an example here, right? So I've put this one here. So yeah, just to show you how it works. And one of the utilities here tells us it's an automatic workbench for blueprints, right? So basically, there's another assembler, okay? It's not this one here. I can't remember its name right now. It's a bit disappointing, to be honest. It's the automated workbench. Oh, yeah, it says it right there. It's exactly the same thing. It's only used for automatically crafting blueprints. Instead of regular crafting on a table, it's for auto crafting blueprints. So yeah, that's it. How do you get a squeezer? Let's check our manual and find the squeezer. Here we have some info on all the required blocks. 2 light engineering blocks, 1 redstone, 1 piston block, 6 steel scaffolding, 6 steel fence, 2 fluids, 2 fluid pipes, and 4 wooden sticks. So the result, as you can see, is this right here. It's this machine here. Pretty cool, right? And how does it work? Well, it has the electricity receiver here. It has the redstone input here to control operation. Basically, we right click on it, and here we have some information. This on the right is for electricity. This is where we put the items, and what items do we put in? We'll put in seeds. The most OP seed is the hemp seed, which is the mod's special seed. It generates 120 MB of plant oil. What's plant oil used for? To produce biodiesel. In fact, if I stand here and press U plant oil, there it is. Plant oil mixed with ethanol produces biodiesel. In other words, diesel. Actually, I've built the machine right here. What we're interested in is, as we can see, we have the output here. This is one output, and I think there's another. So what I do here is extract the output. This would be a fluid output, and this other output is probably from the other elements. So I take this fluid, this is the plant oil, I bring it over here. Okay, and I put it into this refinery machine. With this refinery, I can mix biodiesel and ethanol. The ethanol is made in this fermenting machine, so that's the whole process. Now I'll get seeds to start generating this right away. There's the biodiesel. The pump compresses multiple seeds. It's making biodiesel. We can't see it as it's consumed. How do you get graphite? Well, basically with a squeezer. We create a squeezer, which is this item here. We search for it. We use the search bar, look for squeezer, craft it like this. Let's see if we can spot it. There we have the different tiers, as you can see. The first tier, the second, and the third. Once we have this machine, power connects here, redstone here, fluids output here. We go to recipes, as you see. And if we put in coke dust, which is like coal dust, we get graphite dust. That's graphite powder. And graphite powder is used to make graphite ingots. Coke dust is made using a crusher. Craft a crusher, put in coal, and it makes coke dust. The crusher is this machine here. I'll show you the connections quickly. This is the power input. It receives electricity here. This turns the machine on or off. And items come out here. That's why I placed the chest. So Yeah, that's how you make graphite. How do you get a fermenter and what's it for? The fermenter, as it's called, is made with 2 engineering light blocks, 1 engineering redstone block, 4 iron sheets, 6 steel scaffolds, 4 cauldrons, and 2 fluid pipes. If we craft this item, it looks like this. As you can see, it receives power here and redstone input there. So it gets power to run here and redstone to turn on and off there. It outputs fluid here, which I've sent to this refinery. And what fluid does it produce? It produces ethanol. Right-clicking the machine shows it makes ethanol from various items. For me, glowberries are most effective, but for an auto farm, just use sugarcane if you want to automate this. Alright then, how could we automate it? Here are inputs where we can place different items to feed into the machine. This way we automate what goes in. Once you produce ethanol, use a refinery. Send ethanol one way, vegetable oil the other. With nitrate powder, combine all these and you'll get biodiesel. There you have it. How do you get a refinery and biodiesel? Well, let's check our refinery manual. Here's the machine. It's built in layers. First layer, second layer, third layer. It basically includes 2 light engineering blocks, 2 heavy engineering blocks, 17 iron sheet metal, 1 redstone engineering block, 8 steel scaffolding, and 5 fluid pipes. Once we've crafted all this, we end up with this machine here, which won't work on its own. This machine requires us to craft a fermenter and a squeezer. It's quite expensive. I've already explained how these 2 machines work on my channel. So how does it function? Here we have the energy input, or rather output. This is where it receives power. The liquid it produces comes out through this pipe, and it receives liquids through these parts on the left and right. This machine doesn't have anything else. So what can we do with it? It has various crafting recipes. For example, if we add white acetal and creosote oil, we can make resin. Resin is used for Duraplast or bullet casings. It's also used for grinding discs. So it's really a versatile machine. Then we have white acetal. If we only input ethanol, we get white acetal, which we use to make a bucket. Then we can combine white acetal with creosote oil to get resin, as we just saw. Lastly, my favorite, mixing plant oil, ethanol, and some nitrate. Okay, nitrate is obtained by crushing sandstone. I've got a video explaining the crusher, so check it out. At the end of this video, you'll find a playlist explaining all the elements in detail. Anyway, we crush the sandstone and have a small chance of getting nitrate. There it is. So we add the nitrate. Now we're going to activate the machine. The machine starts generating using up ethanol and such. It's generating now. It says empty. Hope that stops being annoying. But what it's doing is producing biodiesel, okay? The biodiesel is being sent to this machine here. This machine, called a diesel generator, converts the diesel. It transforms biodiesel directly into energy. There's the biodiesel, it's filling up. Why is this filling with biodiesel? Well, probably because this machine is already full. How do you get a refinery and biodiesel? Well, let's check our refinery manual. Here's the machine. It's built in layers. First layer, second layer, third layer. It basically includes 2 light engineering blocks, 2 heavy engineering blocks, 17 iron sheet metal, 1 redstone engineering block, 8 steel scaffolding, and 5 fluid pipes. Once we've crafted all this, we end up with this machine here, which won't work on its own. This machine requires us to craft a fermenter and a squeezer. It's quite expensive. I've already explained how these 2 machines work on my channel. So, how does it function? Here we have the energy input, or rather output. This is where it receives power. The liquid it produces comes out through this pipe, and it receives liquids from these parts on the left and right. This machine doesn't have anything else, so what can we do with it? It has various crafting recipes. For example, if we add white acetal and creosote oil, we can make resin. Resin is used for Duraplast or bullet casings. It's also used for grinding discs. So it's really a versatile machine. Then we have white acetal. If we only input ethanol, we get white acetal, which we use to make a bucket. Then we can combine white acetal with creosote oil to get resin, as we just saw. Lastly, my favorite, mixing plant oil, ethanol, and some nitrate. Okay? You get nitrate by crushing sandstone. I've got a video explaining the crusher, so check it out. At the end of this video, you'll find a playlist explaining all the elements in detail. So, we crush the sandstone and have a small chance of getting nitrate. There it is. Then we add the nitrate. Now, we're going to activate the machine. The machine starts generating, using up ethanol and such. It's generating now. It says empty. Hope that stops soon. What it's doing is producing biodiesel, okay? The biodiesel is being sent to this machine here. This machine, called a diesel generator, converts the diesel. It turns biodiesel directly into energy. There's the biodiesel, it's filling up. Why is this filling with biodiesel? Probably because this machine is already full. How do you get a diesel generator? I've already explained how to make diesel, so I'll just explain how to get the generator. Let's search for diesel generator. And we can see the crafting recipe is quite interesting. It needs 9 radiator blocks, 4 generator blocks, 13 heavy engineering blocks, 1 redstone engineering block, 5 fluid pipes, and 6 steel scaffolding. As you can see, this whole machine is quite expensive. There it is. How does it work? It has an input, which is this blue part here. This is where it receives input. We should send biodiesel through here from the refinery machine. As you can see, this refinery machine is already working at full capacity. The refinery needs plant oil and ethanol from a fermentation machine for ethanol and a squeezer for plant oil. As you can see, I've piped various elements to power this machine and generate biodiesel. This machine takes biodiesel and converts it into pure energy, and I've set up 3 voltage lines to store the energy. As you can see, it currently has 235,000. To activate the machine, we go to the redstone section, turn it on, and it converts this to energy. As you can see, it produces an insane amount. It's currently generating over 30,000 every second. 30,000 per side, so if we channel all the current to one point, it'll send nearly 100,000, I think. Or even more than 100,000. This gives you an idea of its true potential. And it's actually burning very little biodiesel. There you have it. It burns in increments of 40. Every 40 biodiesel might produce 30,000 energy or so. The machine is pretty overpowered, honestly. How do you get an arc furnace? Well, we'll use our engineering book, select arc furnace, and as you can see, the construction is quite complex. It's this one here, made with 8 steel sheet metal, 6 steel blocks, 5 heavy engineering blocks, 1 engineering redstone block, 10 light blocks, 27 reinforced blast brick blocks, 14 steel sheet metal slabs, 5 steel scaffolding, and 1 cauldron. Obviously, check the engineer's manual to see how it all works. If we right click, we'll see that in this part I've put graphite electrodes. This machine absolutely requires graphite electrodes to function. It's like its fuel, so to speak. What does this device do? Well, it basically converts raw materials. For example, it turns raw uranium into 2 uranium blocks, 2 uranium ingots. It turns the grit, the powder from the crusher, into ingots. It converts a gold block into 1 iron ingot with a 50% chance of an extra. Basically, it doubles ancient debris. For 1 ancient debris, you get 2 netherite scrap. It's practically doubling the ingots you get from various elements. It also lets you craft electrum. And that's basically it. The computer. You put materials of one type here and another there, and they all come out here. If you input lots of materials, as you can see, the storage is quite large, you can activate this. This arranges materials, so instead of making all the electrum first, it makes some electrum, then some netherite, alternating them so you receive everything at once. This is to activate it. This here is an energy output. This is also a chest output. I think you can put the chest here. I don't want to misspeak. Yes, it looks like you can place the chest. The machine needs power, so I assume the energy is sent here. We send the energy here. Here's the IF, which would be the energy. So we charge it, and I think the items will come out here. So yeah, that's how this machine works. How does an excavator work? To understand an excavator, we first need to know how to build one. Let's look up excavator and see how this component works. It needs 16 steel sheets, 3 radiators, 3 radiator blocks, 9 light engineering blocks, 1 redstone engineering block, 4 heavy engineering blocks, and 6 steel scaffolds. There's the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. That's how this component functions. Basically, it consumes what a diesel generator produces, as you can see. What do I mean by that? A diesel generator produces about 100,000 energy units per second, and this machine uses all that and a bit more. In other words, it uses a ton of energy. A bit more, there we go. Obviously, I've cheated by using creative mode generators for power. These are the inputs where we supply energy to make the machine work. What's the excavator doing? Well, you can't see it, but we finally have the excavator here. we have this machine, and besides crafting it, we'll need to craft the wheel. The wheel looks like this, crafted this way. The whole setup should look like this. I recommend crafting the complete set. This excavator's dropping items because I didn't put any chests here. It drops what it mines. Basically, it automatically mines the chunk you're in. Now you might ask, will it break the chunk you're in? No, it just simulates breaking it. You might wonder, on what basis? It gives you the materials. Press F3 plus G, see which chunk you're in, and craft a core sample drill. It's crucial. The core sample drill works like this. Right click, it needs power, and it'll give you a sample. Let's see if it gives me the sample now. There it is. I right click, get the sample, and this is a core sample. Basically, I have information about all objects in this chunk, or rather, the minerals in this chunk, and thus the objects it will. For example, it shows 55.76% hardened clay pan and 44.24% laterite. It also lists expected yields, 32,501 ores. 32,351 ores. We're interested in ores as miners can automatically extract various elements. If you don't mind, let's take this bumper and do this using the nearby different chunk. We'll compare two chunks, so you see I'm not making this up, it really changes. It's making the sample there. Perfect, give it to me. Now we have two different samples. As you can see, one has 90% hardened clay pan. Based on what we want to mine, we'd choose one or the other. One has 9.64% saturation, the other 24.71%. So there you have it. How does a garden cloche work? Basically, this garden cloche automates crop growing. There you have it, the automated system. This is all the garden has produced. I know, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. How does it function? The garden is this with a power input on top. It also needs water through this outlet here. I've set up an activated fluid pump. It sends water, allowing plants to grow with power and water. To view the recipes, well, let's check its utility. These are the recipes. It can make berries, melons, flowers, fungi, carrots. It can grow pretty much any crop. And it seems to replant automatically. The seeds aren't consumed, which makes sense, so it works endlessly with unlimited energy. That's quite interesting. I thought the seeds would run out. Apparently not, as I haven't added any. So very, very interesting. How do you get a silo? Well, like all tools, search for silo. The recipe is 4 treated wood fences and 50 iron sheet metal. As you can see, it's super expensive, but it stores 41,472 items, equal to 24 chests of one item type. It can only store one type of item. Where do we, in theory, put items in? From the top. We should add items from the top, but for some reason it's not working. There we go, I assume right now. In this case, it's storing pimps. We can take items out from the extractors. Bottom, an extractor would work, for example. See, with an extractor like this, and that's it. Pretty simple. Right, how does a complete revolver work? I'll explain it to you. We'll need a workbench engineering table. Basically, a revolver has these different parts. It has an extended magazine, bayonet, electron amplifier, and clockwork mechanism. This is where bullets go, so the revolver can fire. As you can see, it has no bullets now, so it can't shoot. What does each element do? The extended magazine increases bullet capacity, the bayonet adds melee damage, the amplified electron tubes freeze the target when shot. Let's add these parts and there's our crafted revolver. We have various bullets: normal, castle, armor piercing, silver, explosive, file, shotgun and wolf pack, which stores 2 different types. The homing cartridge targets enemies. Dragon's breath applies a magic effect. And then there's firework. Let's try to grab these bullets. We should be able to place them here, as you can see. Right clicking will load the bullet. Just having the speed loader revolver in our inventory is enough. Let's find castle. Perfect. Load bullets, right click the revolver or put them directly in. That's neat. To shoot, as you see, right click and it fires. How much damage does it do? Great question. It deals 7 damage. So it can kill a sheep in 1 shot. As you can see, the bottom shows how bullets are being used up. Once empty, right click to reload. It gives empty casings for easy reloading. We can reload these once more to use them again as bullets.
How does the railgun work? First, we need this table here, the engineer workbench. The railgun uses a precision scope and advanced head sinks. I won't discuss grafting. You'll check that with Jay. What does the precision scope do? It gives us range, zoom. Basically a sight. The advanced head sinks reduces the railgun's charge time. We apply these 2 mods and grab the railgun. Here they've given us what would be a skin. Well, they've changed the skin's appearance. The railgun usually looks like this, now it's like this. As you can see, here's the site I mentioned. Activate the site with the middle mouse button to zoom. As you can see, there's a bug jumping here. So, how does the railgun work? To use it, we first need to charge it. How do we charge this item? Well, basically, we need the wires. A wire, even if it's low volume connectors. And then we need a power generator. Since I'm in creative, I'll use creative. I'm cheating. Boom, boom. There it goes. Boom, boom. This has power.
It should be receiving power, and the railgun should be charging. Look, you can see it emitting colors. That's the railgun charging. If it's green, I assume it's charged. Alright, I'm awesome. I shouldn't say that. Once the railgun is charged, we can use it to shoot. When charged, click and hold until level 99. That's how to charge it. But it needs bullets. I don't know why I thought I could shoot without bullets. What types of bullets are there? Graphito, steel rot, iron rot, aluminium rot, tridents, and saw blade. So, you basically take this item, now it'll shoot a trident. It's at max charge, 99. And there goes the trident, now it'll shoot a saw blade. And that's how this tool works.
How does a wood saw work? It tells us you can damage objects. Well, you can damage, or basically collect wood. They're messing with me. So, how does it work? Does it use a saw blade or a rock cutter blade? Okay, we also need to fuel it with a jerry can. The jerry can should have biodiesel. To make biodiesel, we'll use a machine like this. A refinery with a squeezer and fermenter. So you take what comes out, that's the biodiesel. And I think you collect it like this. Nothing shows in the jerry can, it doesn't say how much biodiesel there is. Nothing at all. So, anyway, we have the saw blade, theoretically. If I take the saw blade, thing is, I don't know if I can craft it. It's empty. In this case, it's empty. Okay, I know how to do it, folks. We need to use the refinery and not send it to a tank. Oh my goodness. We don't need to send it to a tank. Let's put it here in the input. In the jerry can. Buddy. Okay. We need to put it here, in the input. Now that we have the cutter, we've got all this, the storage, and different cutter attachments here. So you put the cutter, choose your blade, and we have the blade quiver for loading extra blades if needed. We have the large tank for more capacity. Then there's the advanced lubrication system, which basically reduces damage to the mining drill head and the bug saw blade. So you take this. This is basically damage reduction is useful if you're cutting wood, and you'll use it just for cutting wood. Okay, let's grab the blade quiver, take out the bug saw, and they give us a skin. Let's see what skin we've got. Alright, let's take out the cutter again. I see it's a bit of a lousy skin. To load it, we just take this add biodiesel, bam, and it's running. Not sure if there's a way to turn it off. It uses energy as soon as I take it out. Oh, it'll keep spinning until I use it, right? Let's see. Here's a bit about its use, which would be like, in this case, I don't know why it's not working for me. Looks like you need to be crouching. Crouch and break a block. Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, huh? It can fell a whole tree, but not always. I don't get why. Okay, now it seems to be working, so just keep in mind that it allows you to cut down trees. How does the mining drill work? It needs a jerry can and has various parts and extensions beyond its head. So first off, how do we fill the jerry can? For the jerry can, we'll need this tool here. We'll need ethanol and, we'll need potatoes. Sorry, I'm not explaining well. Basically, we need to get a fermenter. Put potatoes in for ethanol. Then grab a squeezer, add any seeds. I'll use industrial hemp seeds to produce the two liquids. Once both liquids mix with nitrate powder, biodiesel is created. Then you put the jerry can here, and it fills up with a full jerry can. You can fuel your mining drill, for instance, okay? There it is. For upgrading the mining drill, we should get... Let's look at all the effects. For example, large tank improves the internal tank, giving you more capacity, okay? Important, we have this, which prevents damage to other players. The rock softening acid improves ore drops. This increases damage and mining speed. And this lets us mine underwater. Alright, let's grab the steel head and see if I get a skin. Let's check out the skin. Lately, skins have been a bit disappointing, you know? Let's see. Well, this one's cool. So, I guess you go here, start digging. And there you have the excavator, folks. Here's the excavator, folks. So that's how it works. How does the chemical thrower work? We take a jerry can, fill it with biodiesel, and use it to load the chemical thrower. We can attach a large tank to the chemical thrower for increased capacity, a focused nozzle to reduce spread and increase range, and a multi-tank to hold different types of fluids. It can contain various fluid types. If I right-click the chemical thrower, it sprays the biodiesel I loaded into the tank. We can add 3 more fluids. Does it cause damage? Only one way to find out. Let's test it on a sheep. As you can see, biodiesel doesn't really cause harm, but other toxic fluids might. That's how this tool works. How does the heavy plated shield work? It has 3 tools. First, the magnetic gloves, which equip the shield at the press of a button in the game's keyboard, shortcuts menu, a flash bulb that creates a blinding flash when attacked, and shock emitters that stun attacking targets. I'll summon a zombie to show you how it works. I'll set its rival and let it attack me, and there you see it doing its thing, its effects. As you can see, it uses flux to function. How can we charge it? We can place it in a charging station to recharge it. Not sure if it drains at once, seems it does, that's intense. As you see, the stun target stays stunned for quite a while. How do turrets work? Basically, there's a Tesla coil, a chem turret, and a gun turret, okay? These three turrets function differently from each other, got it? Well, the Tesla basically works like the one in Clash of Clans, zapping nearby enemies. Then there's the chem turret that shoots chemicals, and the gun turret that fires bullets, okay? So we have different settings, like a blacklist of targets we don't want attacked. I'm on it now, but we could add animals if we wanted. Let's use the Tesla. It's simplest. Let's grab LV cable, a connector, and a creative mode generator. We'll connect this to test it now. We can apply it with a screwdriver, okay? As you can see, the effect is fully charged. Got it? So what it's going to do is shoot little lightning bolts at nearby targets. As you can see, it deals 3 damage, which is quite a lot, right? For instance, if you start placing mobs, you'll see it melts them in no time. There we have it, see? That's how turrets work. I don't need to explain the others much as they're pretty similar. For example, I've placed this turret over here, well this cartridge, okay? To get it working we apply redstone to it. Let's see, we'll put my name there. It activates the blacklist so it won't shoot me. As the sign says, it's a bit stuck. Anyway, as they say, it's meant to kill everything nearby really. I'm not sure of the exact radius, but it's not huge. Still, it packs quite a punch, right? So yeah, that's how it works. Well, that wraps up our guide. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, folks. See you in future videos.